Consumable items are everywhere in video games. RPGs, MOBAs, first-person shooters, battle royales, mobile games, name a genre, and I guarantee that we can find a consumable item within it. But when you have something as widespread and versatile as a consumable item, you are guaranteed to have some great and well-done ones. And some, not so good, what is this even used for ones. But if you didn't know already, you're listening to the Sonuvageek Podcast. And this week we are talking the good, the bad, the consumable. It's pretty good, right?
I see what you did there. It's funny because you said consumable instead of ugly.
Yeah.
Words.
And I'm your host, Spencer, but all my friends call me the Great El Gordo, whatever that actually means.
Not at the moment, we don't.
That's right.
And one of my co-hosts this fine morning evening is a guy who's doing all right. How's it going, Zio?
Wow, it's like the first time you've never insulted me. Is it because you can see me in the eyes now?
You're doing all right. I
seriously thought he was talking about me.
No, but Zio, you're doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Now imagine how things could have been if your parents weren't siblings.
Oh, god damn it.
And normally, people live and learn, but this man just lives. It's our other co-host, Toll. How's it going, Toll?
Learning's overrated.
I love how you go with the old school, like, wacky 90s and 2000s way to intro people. Like, never hear anybody do it today. Just you now, Spen.
Oh, thanks. I'm going to take that as a compliment because I enjoy doing it.
Those things persisted for so long, they were good.
Exactly.
No, it's fun.
So we're here talking about consumables. Every game's got, well, not every game, most games have them. And there's good ones, there's bad ones. But the real question is, what are they?
They are items that you consume. Boom. Podcast over.
Excellent. Moving on.
Talking on to all of us, buddy.
Catch us next time.
We might need to be a little bit more specific than that.
We're also taking applications for a new co-host. So if anybody would like to take Zio's position, please send it to, I believe it's geekofficial@gmail.com.
Nope. Game official staff.
Oh, game official staff. That would be the appropriate one. Thank you, Zio. That was the last good thing you'll do for us.
Yep, I'll check all the emails and I'll make sure they go right to the trash.
So there's a lot of different orders that we could go with this, but I think we should start off with the low end of the consumables here, and it's the worst consumables that we can think of and know of in video games.
Well, first I think we should identify what we're talking about when we say consumables. Like,
I thought
in Mario, you can pick up mushrooms.
Okay.
Is that a consumable?
That's considered a consumable.
Yeah,
or is that just a power-up?
Well, you can pick it up and you hold on to it.
I would say a power-up is a consumable.
Isn't a consumable something that you pick up and you have the choice to use?
I wouldn't say you have the choice, necessarily. I mean, if you're going to consider the mushroom in Mario consumable, I would consider it a consumable in Mario Kart, because you can hold on to it and then use it.
Okay, so sounds
you
like...
technically have the choice to use it, though. You don't have to get that mushroom. It can meander its way off the screen.
All right, let me ask you about this. What about the heart pieces in any of the Legend of Zelda games? Are those consumables? Because you pick them up and you don't use them until you hit a certain point, and then you use them all.
I would say they're consumable in the newest one because you collect them and you can use them. But the other ones, you just pick one up at a time, and once you get 4 of them, it automatically does stuff. But for it to be consumable, you have to be able to consume it.
I think I'm seeing the theme here. It's an item you pick up, you retain, and you can make a choice whether to use it at a later time. Yeah,
it's just like if I was to go to the grocery store, if I pushed open the door, that's not a consumable, I'm using it. But the cheeseburger that I purchase, that is a consumable because I can consume it.
That went off in a different direction, but I think we understand.
So that's my thoughts on it.
The worst consumables.
Worst consumables. Anyone want to go first? Because if not, I got one.
Nope.
Go for it.
All right, you go. Because I have to think of one after I hear yours.
My first candidate for the worst consumable has got to be the cottage item from the early Final Fantasy games.
Really?
Oh, because you can only use those at the world map, right?
You could only use them on the world map.
Interesting.
And
well, what about the
you
tent?
already have tents.
What was the difference?
What's different from the tents and cottage? Because tents were the world map, I thought cottages you could use anywhere.
In the earlier Final Fantasy games, the ones that actually had the cottage, you could use a tent at any save point.
But a cottage had to be used in the overworld. That's right.
Exactly.
What was the difference between them?
If you had tents, there's no point to using the cottage.
Well, wouldn't that make tents worse than cottages because you can only use them at a save point.
Tents could also be used in the world map as well.
Oh, if you could use a tent in the world map, yeah, you're right. Cottages are kind of garbage.
Yeah, there's no point to them unless you just happen to run out of tents.
You couldn't buy cottages though. You only found them, right?
I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I played them.
All right, Smiley, can you fact check that for us?
Good job, Smiley.
Check the comments for whatever he says.
No, that's fair. I mean, if it works the way you say it is, it just seems kind of like, what's the point of having it?
Of course, that also puts tents in second place for me because it's never that far to get to an inn. Inns cost about 10 to 50 to 100 gold gil, whatever currency in whatever game. And the tent tends to be significantly more expensive than that. So what's the point of using it? Just walk to an inn.
In that game specifically, or all Final Fantasies, inns, I know they're not consumables, but like an inn was always way worse than anything. I never used an inn because like they had no purpose other than, hey, spend money to heal yourself right now. But
it was always like 10 GP. It was never super expensive, wasn't it?
Yeah, you could more expensive the farther off you went, but it's just...
You could always go out, fight one battle, and you can pay for an inn.
Right, but at the same time, like, if you had a tent...
Yeah, but the tent, you use it, it's done.
Yeah, but the inn you had to walk into, you had to deal with the loading screen to go to the town.
But what if you're already in the town?
You can't fight in a town, Spen.
Yeah, but you have to go to the town for certain quest points. You've got to go there to buy different spells or equipment. You go buy them eventually anyways.
For that, but not if you just go and do one. The example was one fight. You go out for one fight, and then you go to the inn. Don't do that.
You could.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the point I was trying to make, though. You buy a tent, it's like 50 gil. Or you go to the inn, it's 10 gil.
Oh, that's what it was called, gil, not gold.
If we're talking Final Fantasy, it's gil all the way through. But let's face it, tents don't only exist in Final Fantasy, so that's why I was hedging my bets.
See, I didn't mind them. I would hold on to them for special moments when I would go and fight through a big area, and then I knew like a town was farther away where I'd be able to use one of those quick accesses to jump back out, use a tent, and then quickly pop back in and then continue going farther.
Now, don't get me wrong, they are great for farming, but broadly, they're useless.
That's fair.
See, I didn't really, like, when I grind and farmed, I didn't really find myself using tents. I would just use, like, heals, like cures and curas or cure 2.
Right, but the option is there, and they're a good item if you're pursuing that activity.
See, I guess... We're not at that point yet.
Anyone else?
Worst consumable ever. I would have to say, again, like I try to put a lot of thought. Like I have an opinion on consumables now, but it's hard for me to say like if I have a favorite or worst. I can tell you potions, just basic potions. Yes. I always thought were kind of dumb. I never really liked them. I mean, they're helpful for like 5 levels, and then they just become a nuisance to have.
Well, I had a different take on the potions, and I found them to be because I have a few that I would consider the worst. Potions being it just because I hate, like, why call it a health potion? Why a lesser health potion, greater health potion, superior health potion? I hate that so much. I mean, there's some games that have done amazing with it, where they make them feel special and unique, where some of them, they have names like a monomate, a dimate, a trimate, so you know what heals you, it's a mate, and you know mono, di, tri, it gets more powerful as it goes. Or they just come up with other crazy things like the Nuka-Cola from Final Fantasy. It doesn't heal you much, but it's called Nuka-Cola. Now it's not terrible, but it's kind of fun. Or not Final Fantasy, Fallout.
Mixing genres.
Or even my favorite one from World of Warcraft, where it's called the Crazy Alchemist's Potion, and it's just I don't know. I think calling it a health potion makes it the most uncreative worst item that you could ever have in a game. But
in a lot of games, potions are pretty terrible, but at least in Square games, they tend to balance it really well. One of my favorite ways of healing in a later game is to just stock up on the cheap-ass potions and down 30 of them every time I need to heal.
Then you'd have to go waste 10 minutes to go buy 30 more.
Well, no, you just click
not in the newer ones. They've got mobile stores.
Because I mean, like, why not like Greg's sticky brown goo? Like, that's way better as a healing item than a potion. It sounds cool. I mean, obviously, that's not the greatest thing. So your issues with
the titling of potions, then?
I think the titling of health potion makes it one of the worst consumables.
I actually don't like the idea of what potions are necessary. Like I can understand having something that heals you.
Mhm.
I don't like the idea of having levels of health from potions. One thing I thought was very fascinating, because I'm recently playing through it, is Final Fantasy 12 and how they handle it. Is you have the your leveling system, or
Yep.
no, what's it called? The licensing system. And there are certain licenses you can get to make potions more effective.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I like the idea of just having a static potion, but then your characters, because of like their experience with that potion, you can get more health out of it.
And I think that makes it more special, and it makes it something you actually get to interact and work towards to make it better. And then that makes it definitely something better than just a health potion.
But I've always hated like the levels of potion, high potion, mega potion.
I'm not sure where I've seen it done, but
whatnot.
there are some where the potion just always heals like a certain percentage for a given type. And I like those.
A lot of RPGs do that now. Like I know the Star Ocean series does that.
Ooh, I still haven't played that.
I believe like a regular potion gives you like 20% or 30% health or something like that.
Oh, okay. See, the percentage of health. I think
a
I
percentage
prefer
of health
that.
it's better because it's more universal throughout the game. So like in earlier Final Fantasies, especially if you got 50 HP from a potion, you're level
gonna
75.
use all of them, and it's gonna heal one guy.
50 HP is gonna do nothing to you. So you had to only get mega potions and just to have a usefulness out of them.
Oh god!
But if it was a static percentage, you can at least keep this potion from early game, and late game it would still have the exact same effect.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
All this talk about potions has made me remember my least favorite potion in any video game ever has got to be the blue potion in Legend of Zelda.
Blue potion.
What does the blue potion do?
The mana potion?
I think it heals and gives you magic.
Oh, that's
Except
right.
in earlier games, I think it only gives you magic, which you can get from literally cutting the grass, which is everywhere. So why would you buy that? I've never bought it.
Which Legend of Zelda was that? Because I know I think they had that in Ocarina of Time. That's the earliest one I ever really remember playing. And they had the blue potion,
was
but that
actually
was
in the very first Zelda game. So it was a red potion. That game it was useful in, but not very much. It also was in Link's Awakening, one of the most popular Zelda games. But again, I never bought it.
Because it wasn't Ocarina of Time the last one they used magic?
You keep throwing the into Zelda names. It's
I
hilarious.
know. I just want to. But in Ocarina of Time, that was the last one they used the magic bar, I think, that I remember.
No, they've used it since then. It was in...
Smiley, if you can fact check that for us, that would be awesome.
Yes. Go ahead and just fact check it.
He'd be happy to. Just look at him and smile. Look at him smile. You can tell.
Do you guys have any other ones that you consider worse consumables?
I have a cough that I can't get rid of.
That doesn't really help us, though. Well, here, I'll throw out another one. I mean, I could be wrong because I haven't played the game, but I want to say in Metal Gear Solid, the cigarettes. I heard that there's a chance that using it, you can like find some lasers or something in one of the levels, but for the most part, he just smokes a cigarette, you see a little puff of smoke, and he loses a little bit of health.
Oh, there's not a chance. You are guaranteed to find any hidden infrared beams.
With the
very
cigarettes?
Useful. Yeah. It's very useful if you haven't found the thermal goggles yet to let you actually see the infrared beams.
Oh.
So
I take that back then.
Honestly, in real life, security systems don't work that way. But if you're playing on the hardest difficulty where the thermal goggles aren't available until way later in the game, early on, you still got to get through several sets of moving lasers. So you just equip the cigarettes, you lose a little bit of health, you can go through.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I actually really like that. It's super clever.
Well, that changes it to an awesome consumable.
No, what's clever is the cardboard box, but we'll get to that in a bit.
I've got another one, unless you guys got one that you want to throw in.
No, go ahead.
Rare candies from Pokemon.
I wanted to talk
rare
about
candies. Love the name, but hate.
I love and hate them. Like,
well,
for me,
you don't get the extra stats.
Get it? Like, it was a treat.
It was, but using it, you don't get the extra stats of
level.
defeating wild Pokemon. Like wild Pokemon, going and naturally raising it, you'll get more stats and your Pokemon will be stronger than if you just do rare candy.
But when you find a rare candy and you're right before that Misty Gym and you need your Bulbasaur to evolve into Ivysaur,
just go out and
rare candy
punch a couple rats for like 10 minutes.
When you've been punching rats for 10 minutes before that because you had to get to level 15, you're just like, I'm done punching rats. Oh, hey, what's over here? Look, a rare candy. It's wonderful.
I don't know.
You know You're playing the wrong Pokemon game. Get the Let's Go games. Then you don't punch anything. You just throw your balls at...
Now you have to finish the sentence because otherwise it's
we're just getting into there and we're going to move on.
Toll's not alone. He's not a part of the podcast anymore. You guys can't see, but the security has tackled him. He's being hauled away by Pikachu guards.
It's not my fault that the concept of the game is inappropriate for young minds. So you go around throwing your balls in the face of all the animals that you find.
I'm the type of gamer that I find like cheap things to make games super easy for you challenging, because I don't really like those things. I like to have the game challenge me on its own. So rare candies, that's kind of where I hate them, just because if you can collect them. But I don't remember ever being in a Pokemon game where they have way too many rare candies.
No, they never
even
do.
Played a Pokemon game where I needed a rare candy, so it's really an optional thing all the way around.
Well, for me, it was the Master Ball.
Oh,
I hate the Master Ball.
I love the Master Ball.
I have that one on my other list.
See, Master Ball is one of my hated ones because I never used it, like, ever. And then the one time you do use it, it's always on a Pokemon. You forgot you didn't have Pokeballs, and it's like, oh, shit. This is the only time I found this stupid-ass Charmander hanging out here for some reason. Well, I don't want to waste a dumbass Master Ball on it.
A, you don't find Charmanders in the wild, and B...
Well, you do in Pokemon Yellow.
It was for this story.
You can in Pokemon Yellow.
Okay, fair.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
You can't?
Not in Yellow.
No,
you get Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle from other trainers.
Then I had a friend that lied to me.
Yes, he did.
Smiley, go ahead and fact check that one for us too, please.
Yeah, thanks, Smiley.
I love how we just delegated one of our fans to fact check. Now, he's going to leave a comment. It's just going to be fact check number 1, fact check number 2, fact check number 3.
and don't forget the fan fiction that's going to follow it, connecting everything together.
Exactly. Don't worry, Smiley. It's for the greater good.
We pick with love.
Hey, Smiley, can you also time code all those fact checks so when we want to argue with you, we don't have to remember what we talked about? We can just click on the time code.
So just go back and start rewatching it again.
Yeah. We need our watch time to go up.
I could just throw some text.
Single-handedly.
Anyway, the second point I was going to make before we got sidetracked was if you're using Master Balls on basic Pokemon, that just means you're unprepared. The Master Balls are really well balanced. They give you just enough to handle the legendaries and maybe 1 or 2 extra.
Just enough? You only get 1.
Not true. I gotten, I think, 5 in
Okay, we're not playing your mumbo jumbo.
I'm not talking about Let's Go.
Hipster age Pokemon.
Well, no, like there's only one Master Ball
Pokemon.
Yeah, so am I.
In any of the Pokemon games, I think.
There's only one?
Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah, you only ever get 1 Master Ball.
Well, then my memory is colored with time. But in either case, I never use that on anything except Mewtwo.
Oh, okay.
Never. Not once.
See, my thing is I challenged myself to catch Mewtwo with like an Ultimate Ball or Ultra Ball, whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's the one.
So then I just had a Master Ball that I didn't need to use anymore.
See, I always liked to have it. It just felt nice knowing it was there. So if I was ever in a pickle...
But what's the point?
It's like it's that safety thing.
A point of pride that you got everything without using the Master Ball. The one guaranteed catch.
In Ruby, I could not catch... what was its name? Garud? No.
Rayquaza?
No, not Rayquaza, the red one, the one in the mountain.
Oh, it starts with a G. Groudon? Groudon.
Yeah. I could not catch him for the life of me. I had him down to like maybe 10% health, and I threw like 30 or 40 Ultra Balls, all of my Great Balls. I got down to Pokeballs, kept throwing them, and eventually I was just like, I can't do this, and I just threw the Master Ball. And there was a part of me that was a little sad that I had to do that, but there was another part of me that was like, thank God this hellhole is over. And it was nice having it. And then I ended up killing Rayquaza because I just couldn't catch it.
This is kind of proof to the theory that one man's trash can be another man's treasure.
Oh, of course. We're not saying that our list is right or wrong.
Fine.
We're just saying that Zio's wrong.
You're wrong, Spen.
So it's fine.
You guys got any other ones?
I did use a Master Ball and a Magikarp once.
What? What was it? Tell me it was at least a shiny.
No, it was just CEO saying, whatever, take this Master Ball.
It's my only Pokeball. Shut up.
I was often unprepared. I would always like prepare myself for like this big battles. Like I remember I caught Rayquaza with a fishing ball or whatever, the one you use for fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Who the flip is Rayquaza?
That was a netball.
He's like a green netball. I caught him with a netball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works on flying and fishing Pokemon, I believe it was.
Talking about hippie new age games.
No, this isn't new age. This was in...
Dude, yeah,
this was in like Silver and Gold, I think. No, maybe the one after Silver and Gold.
It definitely was after Silver and Gold, because those are the last ones that I played.
But it was still during the Game Boy Advance.
Silver was my favorite. Of all of the Pokemon games, Silver was my favorite.
I think Silver and Gold came out when I joined the military, so that explains why I fell out of touch.
That is fair.
Pokemon Yellow was my favorite. Although I gotta say, I did like the Gen 2 Pokemon a lot. Like I like them almost as much as I like the Gen 1.
They were my favorite.
I love I'd say Silver and Gold was probably the best because of the map. Like you could go to Johto and the Sinnoh or whatever.
The first introduction of the day and night cycle for Pokemon was
pretty legendary.
No pun intended. It was amazing, and that's and I loved the music from that one too. Like the going into, I don't remember what it was. It was that the Wiggling Tower. I'll never forget the music from that level because it was just so creepy and weird, and it just I don't know. That's my favorite one of all time.
Fair enough.
Items.
Yes.
Items.
You guys got any ones that you could consider some of the worst? Because I've got more. I can just keep listing them.
I know. I can't. Okay, so like I've been trying to find it ever since it's like, hey, this is a topic. I can't though. Like I remember there's one game. I remember there's an item. It did nothing. Like it was literally just a consumable item, and it did absolutely nothing. I just don't remember what came from. That'd be the worst one. I just remember reading and like why, and like trying to like figure out what it did. Like it had to have a purpose, but it just never did.
I don't know. I can't help you with that.
Yeah, I know.
Not nearly enough information.
Well, here, I'll throw out...
Smiley, we'll fact check that.
So I've got 3 more ones. One of them is I hate low-level spell items. Like items, especially in the Final Fantasy games, where it's a consumable item, you just pop on one of your characters and it casts like a 1st to 3rd level spell, and it's a waste. Like
you could throw fire on enemies and stuff.
Yeah, like Fire 1 or whatever they would call it.
I actually was going to bring that up too. I hate those. Those are awful.
Dumb. I never use those.
No, I mean...
I like them in some of the games where you gather them up and you can use them for crafting, but they also have this like ancillary use. But in games like Final Fantasy VII, where some items you only get from stealing from certain enemies, and it's just one of these cheapo spells that means nothing, does nothing really useful. It's like, what is the point of that?
I hate low-level spell items.
Although I do gotta say, Final Fantasy 15 handled that really well, because they have those items as well. However, in Final Fantasy 15, magic is also pretty overpowered.
Okay.
So when you got one of those items, it was pretty devastating. It wasn't necessarily just like, oh, you did fire, here's 75 damage. No, it was like it would cause this huge explosion, and then everything would die. Like, that's how extreme their magic was. It was very strong because of how rare it was. So for moments like that, I would say that's great. If more games did like Final Fantasy 15, I would definitely be more on board. But you're right, every iteration of that before has always just been pathetic. There's just been no point, especially once you got to the actual magic. You did around the same damage, and then you could do more damage.
Yeah, it's like I might as well just have my black mage just smack him with the staff because it's gonna do more damage anyways.
Oh,
yeah,
I got another one.
Oh,
any support item in the hands of an AI.
Interesting.
Literally. I mean, Kingdom Hearts. You can use any item in your inventory, but for your associates, Donald and Goofy, and whoever else happens to be in the world that you're in at the time, you have to assign them items that they can use. And normally, they use it within 15 seconds of you closing the menu.
I think you just have to learn how to play it, because
I know how to
love
play
those.
it. I give them none of the items, and they use their skills to do everything.
Fight.
I don't think you do. I think it's great, because then you can set a standard on when they use it and how they use it.
I tell them use it very rarely or not at all, and it's still gone within 10 seconds of a fight starting. Someone gets hurt.
Maybe.
Oh, let's heal him. There goes all of my
Maybe
potions.
someone's just unprepared.
Tell that to someone who's never... I've never gotten a game over in Kingdom Hearts, so whatever, you know?
Okay, so...
It's because you had Donald and Goofy healing you. Maybe you should be more grateful, Toll.
I am grateful. I also think that they're stupid when it comes to consumables.
So my next one is, I hate potions of agility or fortitude or anything like that when it's a timed potion where it's like
Temporary?
Yeah, where it's like you now have +2 to agility for the next 10 minutes. I've never used a single one of those, except for moments where I can't get through, I know I'm going to die, and I just keep popping everything every time I reload. Those are the only times those potions ever get used for me.
I kind of disagree with that. I think... So I agree with that depending on what difficulty you play.
Okay.
So this is something I was thinking about. Now... I always play on the hardest difficulty when I play games. Like, I find the hardest difficulty, and that's typically my first playthrough.
That explains what happened to us in Desolate.
And with that, those items become way more useful, because even that minuscule of help for 2 minutes makes the biggest difference, because it changes the way you play the game. When you play in like easy or normal, why use it when you can just pound something to death because you know that's gonna win?
No, that's fair.
You know you've grinded enough to beat it that way. But when you get in a difficult high enough that forces you to be creative, because just beating it to death isn't going to work, using these items and learning how to strategically implement them into your gameplay changes your outlook and playstyle on the game.
Okay.
So I only agree with that for lower difficulties. I think what would be a fun way to kind of fix that for some games would be is if this has certain effect on this type of difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be really cool. Have things change how they work based off of your difficulty and playstyle.
No, that's fair. Because I'm sure they probably have effects that do stuff, but it's never something that you really notice a difference. But I mean, again, I never really play on the hardest difficulties.
A great example would be The Last of Us. By the way, Spen, did you play The Last of Us?
You already know the answer to that, and I did.
How far did you get?
Turns out I hadn't played the game for a very long time. I haven't played the game for...
You don't say.
A few more months than I thought. Also, turns out I have 2 copies of The Last of Us. The remastered for the PS4. Only because I forgot that I accidentally bought one of them because I didn't know I owned the game. And that was a long time ago. But I
almost played the remastered and then I got sidetracked.
I was at the school level when I jumped in. I just got into the high school, and I snuck my way through there. Spoilers for The Last of Us, if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, over
you
a decade
don't have to
later.
worry about it.
Yeah.
It's only spoilers for Spen.
Yeah, and then I got through the school. We started up the truck. We started going with it, and then we got crashed, and we just got attacked by some guys that were trying to fight us.
So you got through the school?
Yeah, I got through the school.
What did you think of the big bloater?
I
hated that thing.
At first, I started screaming because I didn't know how to run. I couldn't remember what button that was for.
I'll be completely honest. You were saying stuff about the school, and I was completely drawing a blank. I knew nothing. And then Zio said bloater, and I was like, oh shit, that!
Yeah.
Well, the part that
iconic moment.
Like at first I saw the bloater and I'm like, I just get to run away from this thing, right? I'm trying to walk, but I'm only like walking at a normal pace. I think in the end I jumped
out a window. I don't remember.
I ended up.
Was that a way out of that fight?
Turns out I had a shotgun.
You have to fight
I just had to go over to the side and hold the X button, so he pulls out his backpack so I could cycle to it.
I knew you had a shotgun.
So I just pulled that out and I was just
blasting it. Yeah.
And yeah, I used up all my ammo for that and 2 of my guns, mostly because I missed a lot. And
how do you miss with a shotgun?
Because he
must have shit aim.
Well, a little bit of that, and he throws these little balls, these little
disorients you.
Yeah, these little sacks of pasta just explode, and you can't see anything. And then there's zombies that are running in, attacking you while you're dealing with this thing.
Hey, they're not zombies, man. They're clickers.
No, they weren't clickers. They were zombies.
Were they?
I think. I don't know. But
I need to play that game again. I don't remember the terminology they threw around.
I finished that, and I made it up this ladder, and then I jumped out of the building, and then we made it over to another building where we were supposed to climb a ladder. That was the more terrifying part for me because I couldn't remember how to run. So they're like, hurry, and I'm just like jauntily walking along. It's like, don't worry, I'm coming. All the moment I hear like coming up behind me, and oh god,
I'm running from the zombie horde.
Turns out you hold R1.
They don't catch up with me.
And that's how I run. So I was good after that.
Good.
I had to Google it though.
So back to my example.
Right, sorry, please go.
Consumables. What makes why I think they're more useful in harder difficulties. The Last of Us is a great example. And I was telling you this when I tried to watch you for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, because it didn't work.
You get ample and plenty of ammo and easy and normal difficulty.
Oh yeah, there's so much more now that I've gone down to normal.
You get ammo left and right, and you can blast your way through everything. However, I played on hard, and then when they released the remastered grounded mode.
You're an
on
animal.
Grounded mode, the entire game I had nothing but 8 shotgun shells. That's all you get the entire game. And then like with that, I had maybe a couple clips of normal handgun ammo. I think I had like 12 arrows. Like it was very limited ammo you could get. And so I had to learn to be creative with consumables, i.e. the bricks and the bottles. Those are also less scattered throughout the entire game when the harder difficulties. That's what I was telling you. You can like use the bottle as a distraction, or you can throw it at their head to disorient them.
That's what I love
you can
about
run up to them and kill them, or you can even run towards them and kill them with it itself.
I tried, it didn't work. I died a lot.
That's what I love about the game, is they make such simple things so very useful.
Yeah, so like my playstyle changed drastically from an easier difficulty to a harder difficulty because I had to be creative with the consumables they gave me.
No, that's fair.
To make the experience easier on me. Otherwise, it would have just been a nightmare. Fun story, by the way. And no, I'll come back to it when we get to this segment of the podcast. I'm sure we'll get there.
When we get to the Sega podcast?
No. The segment. I'm pretty sure we're leading into a part where we talk about consumables and the frequency we use them or not.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna touch on that before we head over to the best consumables.
Okay, cool. Because that's when I'll bring out this story.
Okay, I have one more thing that I would consider the worst consumable, unless you guys have something else.
Go ahead.
No. You're clearly way more prepared than Toll and I.
I would say, for me, it's crafting consumables when it becomes excessive. For example, there's maybe if you have a recipe where it's like, you need 100 of these, 4 of these, 6 of these, and then let's see, 10,000 of this. And at that point, it becomes the worst consumable in my opinion, because there's got to be other ways to make it more interesting or more exciting than 10,000 of this basic item. Obviously, that's a bit of an exaggeration, I hope. I really hope.
See any Far Cry game. I need a bigger wallet so that I can buy things. Okay, you've got to go slaughter 18 boars to get their skins.
See, I don't think it was that dramatic. I kind of liked how Far Cry did. I liked the fact that you had to kill bigger and harder things to get the better version of that item.
So you're telling me that you couldn't make a simple expansion of the knife belt by the skin of one dead animal? You need to kill 16? So let's say the first thing that it made me go after. Let's say a boar, a frickin' pig. They had me kill 8 of them.
That it was not that high. I'm pretty confident.
There were some of them that were pretty high like that, though. It depended on what tier you were making of it. But I would say,
hey, Smiley, can you fact check that?
For the most part, I was okay with it, just because you'd be traveling along, you'd see things, you could kill them. But yes, there were some of them where it got to the point where it was a little excessive, where it just felt it was more of a hassle than to go through. But it was that hassle that they wanted it to be, just because of that extra slot, or it was that final upgrade that was supposed to be pretty special.
You know what would have made that interesting, though? Having the option. Like, what if you had to, like, say you want the ultimate mega 18 arrow holster. You can kill either 32 bunnies or one elephant. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like, if you had the option to, like, kill more of lesser monsters or creatures, or you can find that sweet one rare awesome.
I just hate it when it has to be specific creatures for a specific item. I don't know about you, but I can make a quiver out of a rabbit skin just as well as a deer. I might need more rabbits, but I can do it.
I hate micromanaging in other games, but, you know, some people love that stuff. I love hunting new stuff.
You know, speaking about terrible consumables, let's just go ahead and say every single one in Minecraft. Every single one.
Why would you say that?
Well, food doesn't heal you anymore. Ammo is not really something that that's useful, because aiming is such a bitch.
Food is the worst consumable ever in any video game. I hate food consumables.
Well, it depends on if you're playing a survival game for the survival aspects. Then I wouldn't consider it the worst.
Even then, like, it's just dumb.
I think it's okay.
I never understood. I never understood, like, food giving you health. Like, those don't correlate for me. Like, I understand, like, if you want to use a first aid kit to heal yourself, but food should do something to, like, stamina or anything else.
See, but that's looking at more of the realistic side for you than for it. I think if isn't
that what survival's supposed to feel like? You're supposed to feel in a realistic element to fight against the odds? I mean, consumables, if I'm going to eat some food, I should have more energy to be able to do stuff. My health should be directly correlated to my literal health of how close to death I am.
That's actually one of the reasons I like Desolate. It does that. You know, if you're hungry, your stamina drains faster. Same if you're thirsty.
See, I understand the health thing, though.
If you're good on both of those, you actually do heal a little bit, but health is a separate thing.
See, because I think if you were to go that route, Zio, that what you're talking about, it adds sometimes one extra layer of complexity that's just too much for it, just because there's already so many other things you're trying to balance in it. That having the food do health and hunger sometimes See,
but I feel like if you changed it, though, like if you had food that affected your energy level, like, say, everything took stamina, right? Running takes stamina, swinging a baseball bat takes stamina, climbing takes stamina. If you allowed it to, like, if you kept yourself fed properly, your stamina would go at the average rate. But if you kept yourself unfed, obviously your stamina bar should go lower faster based off of the energy you have. Your health should be directly correlated to dying. Like, that's one more extra element I'm saying you should have in a survival game. You have to focus on health, and then you have to focus on your stamina, basically, because of your food. I think that would be more engaging. It's just the food to health ratio never made sense to me. Like, if I just got shot in the chest and I see a cheeseburger, that cheeseburger isn't going to make me feel better.
Well, it's going to make you feel better, but...
No, I'll be in shock. I won't feel anything.
Skyrim, dragons breathing fire on you. Oh, hang on a sec. Cheese wheels! Okay, I'm good.
I love that, though. It's so stupid. It's awesome.
I mean, comedy aspect, yeah, it's great for that. But I'm saying, like, if you're going to add the element of it, find it...
Yeah, but I mean, a game like Skyrim, it's not going for the realistic survival thing. It's going for just let's give them some different health things and let them eat a bunch of food. But I mean, in a lot of survival games, they do kind of do what you're saying, where they have food for hunger, but then there's other things that they need to be able to deal with health. There's certain survival games that mix it, where it's just the food goes with the hunger, but I think it's typically the ones where food is correlated with health and hunger are ones like on the Point of Rust, where it's a lot more like heading out, encountering the unknown of different players and other things like that, where it's a lot more, I want to say, fast-paced dealing with people, and it's a lot more dangerous, and that extra level of complexity there, I think, would make it a lot more difficult and would turn... I mean, some people would love it to be like that, but I mean, for me, I never would have played Rust if it was like that. It would have been too much for me dealing with players, and then that extra bar now with the whole another form of consumable that I need for it.
Yes.
But not saying you're wrong, because I think you're definitely right in certain situations. But
I just think there's, if I remember correctly, there's just too many RPGs where they have just like, you get a health potion, you get this high potion, you get a mega potion. Oh, and then like there's 300 different types of food you can eat.
see, because right now I'm playing Y2K on my channel, and when I was curious to find out what they decided to do for health, and every single like health regeneration item is a food, and any sort of MP regeneration is a liquid. And I thought that was awesome. I enjoyed that for that game.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that in quite a few games too, where health food typically kind of gave you like a static regen, and liquid was a magic regen. Although I do like Star Ocean's take on food, so their food isn't a health thing. Their food kind of gives you benefits to help you grind.
Okay.
So I found that fascinating. Like if you ate this type of curry, you had triple experience for like 3 hours or something like that.
Oh, okay. Star Ocean's is a series that I haven't gotten into, but I've wanted to for a long time. Because it just looks cool. It looks like it's got that mix between like Final Fantasy and Phantasy Star.
Yeah. So like some of them are really good. Some are meh.
Sounds like kind of Final Fantasy and Phantasy Star.
We are starting to run low on time here, so why don't we jump to what are your guys' use patterns, thoughts on consumables? What do you guys actually do with them? 'Cause, by the sounds
Never
of it,
use them.
I rarely use them except for potions and RPGs.
I've been that player. I've been that player when you find a rare consumable, you're like, oh, I need to hold this for something.
Yes.
And then I just don't use it because I'm like, I can figure it out.
Typically, if I have less than 5 of something, I won't use it.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever used really rare consumables is in Final Fantasy VII, because I've played it so many times, I know how many there are in the entire game. And I always save like my mega elixirs that heal your entire party, everything, all the way.
Oh, okay.
Just for the last battle. I never use them for anything else except for the last battle against Sephiroth.
Because for me, I really only ever use them in RPGs, like games like Final Fantasy and stuff like that, where it's the turn-based combat and you're going to take a lot of damage, you're going to dish a lot of damage, and you need to heal yourself. So I typically use them in that. But I mean, for the most part, like Skyrim, I never used it unless it got to a point where I was fighting a creature and it killed me. And then I tried it again and it killed me. I tried it again and I realized, well, I can't do this at my current thing. So I would get to the point where I'm almost dead and then just go to my inventory and just like spam every single item I had until I thought I was good to go.
I find myself using a lot more consumables in Final Fantasy 12 playing this one. Because I've never used consumables really ever. Even when I played like Bioshock on 1999 mode. I didn't really use anything because, one, I thought you weren't supposed to use anything to get a trophy, and it turns out I was wrong. You were allowed to.
There's a trophy in spirit.
Yep. And then also in The Last of Us, I didn't use any of my consumables. But in Final Fantasy 12, you get ailments left and right in that game. Every monster you fight does something.
Oh, that's right.
So I find myself stocking up on like eye drops and maiden's kisses and antidotes, literally everything. So I'm blowing so much more money on consumables that I can't actually buy equipment because everything affects you. And it's crazy, and I never realized how intense Final Fantasy 12 is and can be. Although I still think their battle mechanics are kind of slow and not fun.
That is, I think, the only one I haven't seen the end of.
Oh, okay.
I haven't either. That's why I'm playing through it right now. I remember I got pretty close towards the ending, and then my disc stopped working.
Oh.
I was only 15, so I couldn't buy another one because it was poor.
I hate it when that happens.
Buy me one.
There's a couple of games that I will never finish because of how often the disc stopped working.
Thankfully, I don't have any like that.
Legend of Dragoon. Loved it.
Oh, and that's a long one. Aren't there like 4 discs to it?
It is. It's 4 discs. I got that because I saw I was like 8 years old. I'm like, oh, I beat Final Fantasy 7. This guy kind of looks like Cloud.
It was an amazing game. It was a fantastic game. I loved it.
It was a good game.
I had a buddy growing up that absolutely adored that game.
Since I started down this path already, side note here, doesn't have to make it into the final cut of the podcast, but whatever. That game I played through to the 4th disc And I had one of those memory cards because on the off chance people are hearing this, you remember way back then they had the big old card slots, and some of them had buttons that'll change it to a different section. So you could have like 16 memory cards in one.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
The one that had my save on it got locked on a different card. So I couldn't recover that save. I couldn't get back to it. So I was 3 1/4 discs in, and the game, my save was unreachable. So I tried again, and I made it to the 3rd disc, and it was corrupted. So 3 years later, I found the game again on a different PlayStation, and I played through again, and I made it to the 3rd disc again. I got to the section with the observatory, where they're finally starting to tell the story of everything. And that memory card just completely broke. Everything on it got wiped. And it wasn't one of those multi-slot ones either. It was a dedicated memory card, and there was a little power flicker, everything went away. So I tried one more time. And I made it past that point, only to find out that the disc was damaged, and I couldn't play further.
Oof.
A couple of years after that, I gave it one more go. And again, I made it to about the same point, almost to the end of the 3rd disc, not quite to the 4th. And it was damaged again. It was corrupted. And at that point, I just thought, I'm never going to finish this game. I found it digital download on the PlayStation Store, and I'm like, I'm not going to download that because it'll brick my goddamn system. Something will go wrong.
Smiley, can you fact check that? I want to make sure you did it 4 times.
The only game that I've played that has made me enjoy consumables and look forward to collecting stuff to make food for it is Breath of the Wild. It's one of the few that it was actually fun with it, because you get to you collect tons of different food, and it's super easy. You want to have an item that increases stamina, just throw in a bunch of random junk and then throw in the beetle that gives you stamina stuff. And if you feel like making it more potent, then throw in a couple other beetles. It made it easy and fun. And that jingle every time you cook food is still good. It doesn't matter how many times you hear it.
What's the jingle?
It's made with like rattling chain sounds. You couldn't sing it and do it justice.
It's like, I don't know.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing that game now.
Oh, I'm so glad. Smiley, don't fact check the sound I just made.
Yes, definitely fact check that.
But yeah, that was one of the first ones where at first I didn't do anything with the consumables because I was still stuck in my whatever, I don't care for it. But yeah, the game forces you to kind of use it because you can't climb a lot of sections to get to places, especially early on when you have your low stamina. So it forces you to make that stuff. And once I started to realize just how simple it was like, all right, sweet. I'll just climb a tree, grab a couple eggs every once in a while, and while I'm swimming along to get the treasure chest, I'll grab a couple fish, and it works out great just because
that seems pretty cool.
There's so much exploration naturally built into it that you can't go anywhere without just stumbling across anything you'll ever need for cooking.
I got a Switch now. I should get that game.
You should. I really
that
like
and Super Mario Odyssey.
If you're not sure if you want to play it or not, just play it.
Okay.
There you go.
A great idea.
I'll lend you my
Super
copy.
Mario Odyssey,
Next time we see each other, you can borrow mine.
Okay. I'll hold you to that.
All right.
I'm not saying you have to own the game, but you should play it.
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Just tell your wife to buy it. There you go.
You'll survive not playing it, but you'll be less of a person.
My wife would love Super Mario Odyssey more than I would.
I've played a little bit of Odyssey. It's pretty good.
So much dopamine. So much.
The only Mario game I really loved was Paper Mario. So.
You like the RPGs.
Yeah. Paper Mario was pretty good.
Other than that, I didn't really care for most of Mario.
We are way off topic. What the hell?
No, that's totally fine. Well, so, best consumables. What would you consider some of the best consumables?
Oh, no. I gotta tell my story first.
All right, sorry. Zio, tell your story.
Yeah. Okay,
Smiley
so The Last
cut
of
out
Us.
his story.
Smiley's not editing this. Sophie cut out Spen telling me to cut out Smiley's story.
Sophie's not editing this either.
Spen, cut out all Zio's parts.
I'll pass that along to him. I don't know if he'll get it.
Okay. Anyway, so in The Last of Us, consumables, like I said, I never use consumables in video games, and stay true to The Last of Us. Playing on grounded mode, I knew how little resources you would have in The Last of Us. Like going into it, like I just knew. Like I played on hard, and it was super challenging. I had very little items, and I'm like, wow, grounded mode's going to be even harder. I'm literally going to hoard all my resources for certain moments. One of those moments you haven't gotten to, Spen. It's a fucking nightmare.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
And then there's a second moment that's even more of a nightmare.
Cool,
Can you give hints to people who know what you'd be talking about that wouldn't be spoilers?
No, because I would block my mic so that I don't hear it, but then I'd stumble across it when I'm editing it.
Subtle hints that Spen won't understand.
Oh, but then
Darkness and Ellie.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. So those are two separate moments that are extremely difficult if you use all of your ammo and resources.
Don't worry, I use it all anyway.
Like I said, on easy and normal, you just have so much ammo everywhere you can just.
So I should be fine then. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you'll be perfectly fine. But on grounded,
Except for
you
when
have.
you're not.
Like I said, I had 8 shotgun shells throughout the entirety of The Last of Us on grounded mode, and I saved all my ammo for this climactic moment of the game because the ending is actually pretty challenging.
Well, depending on how you play it.
You've ruined the game for me now. Now that I know it's challenging, this is garbage.
Oh, it'll be challenging for you.
I'm never playing the game again.
The game is challenging.
But anyways, I remember I got all the way to the ending.
Zombies. Did you know that?
Son of a geek!
Nice.
But I got through all the way through the game, saved all my ammo, and I was also trying to platinum this game at the time too. So this was the very last trophy I needed to get for this platinum. And I go all the way through, I save all my ammo. I even made it through the last level without using very much of my resources. Like, I still had a ton of ammo by the end of the game. And I remember I got this last collectible in this difficulty, and my trophy glitched and didn't pop.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about that.
I lost it. So it's so hard to try to tell the story without spoiling.
Did you ever get the trophy?
I had to replay it again.
And you did get it though, right?
I did get it the second time.
Dang it. I was hoping you didn't, so I could give you a hard time about it.
No, I did. But I let's just say I wasted all of my ammo on a very specific part.
Well,
that
how
is
far into
optional.
the game is this part?
And it
Last 15, 20 minutes.
Oh.
lasts like
in like
5 minutes of the game. I would say.
in like a couple
40
months,
plus
you'll
hour
be
game.
able to talk about it.
I'll be able to give you more details in depth, but like I didn't use any of my resources to the end of the game. I kind of regret it. You know, I kind of wish I'd used them to make certain parts a little easier on myself. But it's a fun story to tell because I blew everything on a moment because of how angry I was. And it was very satisfying, yet I kind of feel a little guilty about it.
And let's be real, Spen. We know you're not going to finish The Last of Us.
No, I'm going to do it.
It's going to go the way of Amnesia.
No, he has to finish it before
started
October.
playing it again, and I realized how much fun it was. The only reason why I stopped playing it was because I went to record A Way Out with a buddy, and then I just forgot about it because we played A Way Out for way longer than we should have ever had to actually play it because we didn't work well together. Not in a bad way.
Good game.
But
the videos are fun. Hello, dog. I see you.
So
best consumables.
Yeah. Mr. Toll, it sounded like you had something exciting about best consumables. Only because I know Zio also had something exciting about, but I'm going to avoid going to him as much as possible.
That's fair. I talk too much.
Best consumables. I had something, and now that you've put me on the spot, it has fallen out of my brain.
All right, Zio, take it away.
Oh, man. All right. I don't remember mine now.
Seems the same as happened to him.
Crap.
All right, so this
All right,
one,
Spen, take it away.
for best consumables, I have two consumables in Fortnite that I believe are best. One, or not the best, but some of the top ones. One of them, because of the name that they used for it, because it made it from just a mundane item to something fun and exciting, and that's the Slurp Juice or the Chug Jug. which are both items used to replenish your shield. And just the name of it, it's fun, it's exciting, and it makes it awesome. Like when we were playing the Fortnite Games Night, the arena that Toll had put together, anytime I found the slurp juice, I was like, I don't want to get rid of a weapon, but I got to carry this because it's the slurp juice.
Yep. Right. I felt that way about the boogie bombs.
Oh, I didn't know there's. That's right. The boogie bomb's the grenade for the dancing.
I love the boogie bombs.
That's
like
awesome.
I always got rid of something so I could have a boogie bomb because it's great when you run around the corner or see one of you two losers and I'm like, oh no, ha! Now you're dancing.
Check me out, I'm dancing.
The other one is the Rift to Go, but that one is such a special one to me just because of the animation for it. That's what makes it one of the best consumables. It's because you got a little snow globe and you can like run up to somebody and be like, and then you all teleport up to the top, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
I mean, sound effects, Spen.
I gotta say, as much flack as Fortnite gets from people, like they're super creative.
It only gets flack because people really like the game, and it's fun to hate things. It's
literally like one of the most popular games.
It's a good game with a terrible YouTube community.
Yeah, that sounds about right for anything in the internet.
I have looked at other Fortnite videos than what we make, and most of them are just so much cringe.
Well, a lot of it's a lot different than what we do too.
Or younger, just
yeah. We're just losers having fun.
So you guys remember what you were gonna say was?
Oh, I should actually make a correction. I'm sorry. You guys are losers having fun. I'm just an awesome. Yeah, we're losers.
Yeah, not for long though. I'm gonna win this next one.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm gonna crush you. You're gonna cry like a baby.
Joke's on you.
Best.
I cried like a baby earlier.
All right, well, give me one, guys, or I'm just gonna start continuing off with my list.
I have completely forgotten. Ooh, actually, let me go old school. Let's go pen and paper here. The deck of many things.
Yes, that's also on my list. God, that one's so good. I mean, it's your item. You talk about it.
No, you go ahead. You've got more experience with D&D. Most of my stuff is just, I heard about it, I liked the idea, and I screwed around with it in my head. I know nothing of what it's actually supposed to be. I just know that it's fun as hell.
Oh, well,
I have played a game where I was granted the deck of many things by the DM, and I knew nothing about it, and the people I was playing with knew nothing about it, and I drew a card and had my soul locked away.
Oh,
and
is that the one?
Everyone around me started drawing cards, trying to get a wish to pull me back, and they kept getting worse and worse things until finally the fourth person and last person to draw got the wish, which was great. It was really handy for the rest of us because he just said, I wish that we had never played with this stupid fucking deck.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Pardon my language. Censor me if you want to. I don't care. But it was an awesome circumstance. It was a great experience.
Because the deck of many things is such a cool item.
Zio, you look like you don't like it.
Well, the tough part is it's a game breaker.
It definitely
is. It ruins D&D campaigns, in my opinion.
Unless you have an absolutely fantastic DM. And I think a really good example of this is the deck of many things in Critical Role. I don't know if you've seen Critical Role, but the way Matt Mercer handled the deck of many things, absolutely fantastic. It also helped that most of the party knew what it was, and the one guy that didn't know what the deck of many things was had it in his possession. But it was...
So, because I mean, why don't you explain what he did?
Well, okay, so the way it happened was he just stumbled. One of the characters stumbled across it while they were going through. I believe it was like a horde of a dragon, and just found the deck. And when the rest of the players started to clue in what it was, but he had no idea. I don't think any card was drawn for a while, but he ended up drawing a card that ended up giving him a weapon. And there's some other ones that happened farther down as well. But finally, a card was drawn where his soul, I believe it was his soul was trapped from his body. It was like taken from and like transported to another plane, and they ended up doing and that was like the very last session they had for those characters. It was like the end of their campaign, and so what they ended up doing is a whole nother short adventure session where the rest of the party went on an adventure to go and retrieve him. And I mean, there are definitely some cards within it that are just
so what you're saying
miserable,
is it sounds like he just got lucky and then it turned into a fantastic storytelling element.
To a sense, yes, but I mean, every card that is drawn, it can be presented in a way that, I mean, of course, there's a few of them. I think there's one of them where you like lose a bunch of experience. There's another where you gain a bunch of experience. But for the most part, I would argue that pretty much every card can be played in a way that if the DM delivers it properly, it explodes and makes the experience a lot better. It's all up to the DM for it.
Yeah, but at the same time, like that to me sounds like a DM lie or a DM trickery is what I would like to call it. Because if the DM has ultimate control of what happens after the deck of many things, then yeah, sure. But more often than not, the players decide what to do, and then like it just kind of ruins the experience because then you see every other player hates.
Have you had bad experiences with the deck of many things then?
Yes.
That would probably be why it was. Well, if you want, I'll read off a couple cards here.
In my experience, there's no bad elements. It's bad dungeon masters.
And
with the deck of many things, it could easily
disagree.
be presented as innocuous, and anytime you drew from it, the DM could figure out a way to present the effect of it without directly relating it to the deck. I've seen that happen, and it was a wonderful gameplay experience.
I would disagree. See, like, I have had one of the most wonderful DMs ever. He's a good buddy of mine, and the story he was creating was absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I
loved every moment of it. The group loved every moment. Our chemistry within that story was fantastic. It was just one of the best sessions I've ever played it.
Mm-hmm.
Then a deck of many things fell upon us. And one of the players got a hold of it and pulled this card. And then after that, the campaign was just no more fun.
Well, what did the card do?
I don't remember if it was a wish or if it was something that changed the dimensional plane. It was one of the two, but the whole game shifted from one direction we were going and then into an entirely new direction because that's what the player had wanted.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
The DM gave it to him because it was a deck of many things.
Well,
instead of, I think if I will give the asterisk essentially, like if the DM has full control of the deck of many things in the sense of he gets to play off the item or the consumable, then yes. But then that causes some contingencies if the players really feel like they're being railroaded or not.
No, that's fair.
I'm going to play the middleman here and say that the viability of most D&D tools tends to come down to the dungeon master himself. Yeah. There's no two ways about it. They control the entire environment. If they allow something that makes it fall apart, well, that's not really on the design of the game. That's on them.
See, because I think most of the reason why I think it's one of the best. I mean, it's something I'll never throw in a campaign that's still planning to be going for a long period of time, unless there's something within it that kind of fits, and the players understand the power of and like the different things that can happen with the deck. But I mean, like even if a player's granted a wish, if I gave players a wish and they wished for something specific, there's so many different ways that I can incorporate the wish where it affects the players, like the results of receive. Like if you wish for like, I wish to be king of the country and have as much money as I'll ever need. Well, where does the money come from? What happened to the previous king? What happened to all these other things? Like there's so many different ways you can still tie it back in to the story and the campaign to make things going.
And no one ever said a wish has to be granted immediately. It just is a thing that comes.
So I don't know.
There's lots of ways to play with it. Oh, I remembered my other thing.
Oh, go for it.
The magazine in Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, 4. Well, from 2 on, basically.
Okay.
If you haven't played Metal Gear, the magazine is an item. It's a magazine. It's got pictures of ladies in it, and you set it down on the floor, just open. And the guards wandering through, just doing their guard things, terrorists infiltrating the organization, trying to take things over, on high alert. Oh, there's a girly magazine on the ground. Let me just drop my gun, make sure no one's looking, and just plant my face in the magazine on the ground and pay attention to nothing around me. while I get my rocks off.
Great.
Oh, that's awesome.
That sounds like a fantastic.
And then you come up behind. You can literally stand right in front of them, and they're so busy staring at the magazine that you're just like, kick, run away. They don't notice you. They're awesome. So distracted. They get back up, and then nobody looks at the magazine again after you distract them. But it's so worth it. I'll collect like 10 of them and just lay them in a trail, and someone will get trapped by the first one. So I go up and I punch them, and then I run and hide. They look for me for a minute, then they go back and they go to the second magazine, and they just keep on doing that. And then at the end of it, there's a claymore just for fun.
Nice. That does sound like a pretty awesome item. And
There's
quickly
so
jumping
many ways to screw around in Metal Gear.
Quickly jumping back to the deck of many things. I think what Zio said with putting the asterisk beside it, where I think maybe it could be considered a best and worst. Where there's certain situations that'll make it the best, and there's other situations where it'll make it like it turned out in Zio's campaign.
Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Don't worry, someday we'll get to play a campaign, and one of the very first items you'll get is a deck of many things.
And I will set it on fire.
I'll make it so you can't destroy it.
That's a good way. That's a good setup for some sort of terrible events.
Yeah, you have to keep it on you. You're the
There's
only one to keep it safe from the rest of the
many
world.
things that can't be destroyed without consequences.
So Zio, did you remember the other one, or the one that you were? No.
No.
Well,
I just got really excited about talking about my Last of Us story. I just lost it.
Well, I would love to jump to one of my best ones then, which is I actually had the Master Ball as one of the best consumables.
Okay.
Because it was it's a one-time use, whatever you want, only once, never again.
That's fair. I'm not saying the Master Ball is bad.
It's like the catch-all in our filming. You know, it's just you've always got it. You know it's gonna work. We'll keep it around just in case we need it.
And don't use it nearly as much as the catch-all.
I do say the Pokemon, they balance all their their consumables pretty well, I would say. You know, like with the rare candies and the Master Balls and all that other stuff. I think they did a pretty good job at making sure nothing felt too overpowered or, you know, not useful in some circumstances.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. But
yeah. Master Ball is pretty good.
I should check. If you guys have any, interrupt me as we go. Otherwise, I'll just keep going through the few more that I have.
Okay.
Just go.
All right.
Yeah.
So I've got the blue shell from Mario Kart. This one is going to be a little controversial because there's a lot of people that hate the blue shell. But I think it's a fantastic item, and if you hate it, it's only because you're good at Mario Kart.
It is a fantastic item for balancing things out, but it's also a ridiculously cheap item.
Is it though?
Yes.
It is very frustrating to die to the blue shell, but I can't count the amount of times. Like, I'm not fantastic in Mario Kart, but I consider myself pretty darn good. And there have been times where I've been hit by 3 blue shells in a row. Doesn't matter. Phew, I'm still going. But yes, there are times when there's like 5 or 6 people all like crammed together racing, and then a blue shell comes in, takes out the guy who is just about to win just for every other kart to go by, and now he's in like 8th place. But that's the nature of Mario Kart.
I actually really love the blue shell.
I love
being
it.
a person who won a lot of Mario Kart, being one of the best, that didn't bother me.
Because there's also ways you can get around it.
Yeah, I found it to where I'm going to win anyways.
Yeah.
That's how I view it.
It's great. My views on the blue shell is there's only 2 ways to fight it. You either have to be far enough ahead that it doesn't matter, or stay close enough to the second player that once you realize it's coming, you just hit the brakes real quick. They get smacked, and you go on ahead like nothing happened.
But because the other thing too is typically, I don't think it typically comes out unless, except for whoever's in like almost dead last, and it's when they're farther behind. Like if you've got a good lead, that's typically when it pops out. I believe there's actually stuff in place that if everyone's crammed together, you don't see it anywhere near as often.
Once they throw it, it locks on whoever is in first at that moment. So even if you go to second, it's still going to hit you.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten the thing, so
the best way to do it is you slow down so second place is right next to you, and then it hits both of you.
Mm-hmm. But
I must have changed that then, because way back it always went to the person who was in first.
It might have been like that. It might have been like that early on, but I know for sure the last several games.
I haven't played since like at least the second one.
Okay.
Smiley, fact check that.
Yeah, Smiley.
Does it lock on?
Oh, thanks, Z. We almost let the running joke die.
I also love the bullet bill or the chain chomp from Mario Kart. Those are awesome items because if someone's dead last or really far behind, it's something that still gives them a chance to at least catch up, even though most of the time it doesn't really help too much. When you're back at that point anyways, it's hard to come back from it. But I think those are awesome items because it makes it so, yes, you're super far in the back. You're not doing well, but now you've got a chance to at least do something.
See, my favorite is I always loved the green shells. Just the classic green shells. I love the idea of being behind somebody and you're skilled enough to throw a shell and hit somebody with it.
See, my favorite is the banana. The banana peel.
I hate the bananas.
I just love driving around in first place, holding on to it right behind on my rear end, just waiting for that green shell or that red shell, just for when I hear my buddy beside me, he's like, oh, yes, 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 son of a god, and just because my banana's there.
Son of a geek!
Exactly. So those are, I mean, there's a lot of really, like, I don't think there's a bad item in Mario Kart. Like, they're all at least okay to awesome, I would say. Yeah. But I would say the of all of them, the blue shell, the chain chomp, and the bullet bill are the three like the best items in the game, just for the mechanics of them and what they do. All right, I'm gonna just keep going. I don't have too much more.
I'm literally out.
I'm seriously trying to think of other ones. I know there's great ones. I just
look up consumables, but like,
well, because I just know
the frequency. I never use them. That's about where I'm at.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like, I had a whole bunch more that I narrowed it down just because I didn't want it to go. But we're already like a little over past what we usually go for the podcast. But so I mentioned one of my least favorite is the low level spell items, but yeah. I love the high level spell items. When you get something that's like a cure level 9 or whatever it is, and it's just like you get maybe like 2 of those items, or maybe you have like one of those like massive like Fyra ones or whatever they call the wind ones, I don't remember. And you just have a little consumable item. Those are my ones where it's like, I think they're some of the best items because you can keep those and save those for moments where it matters. Like you've got your spellcaster can throw out a whole bunch of stuff, but every once in a while it's nice just to have those little items in the back pocket. And because it's those high level ones, it makes it so it's viable later on.
I never really found the high level ones really that useful. They're useful in like early game, but late game, for a lot of these like JRPGs, like using Final Fantasy example again, basic attacks pretty much always did more damage than.
But I mean, if you're fighting something, items. Like there's certain monsters that they have resistance to physical attacks, so your physical attacks don't do as much. So if it's a harrowing fight, being able to have one of your fighters throw that, I think it makes it pretty good.
Yeah, I just
not that you come across that stuff very often.
Those moments are harder to come against, I suppose.
No, that's fair. So I mean, hearing what you say there, maybe I'll drop it off of my best consumables thing. I think at the time I was thinking a little bit more excuse me into it than
yeah, no, I definitely see your point. I think that would make it more interesting, but I think that fall into like Final Fantasy 12 more again. Like once again, just there's ailments all over the place in Final Fantasy 12 that makes me use consumables more frequently. Mm-hmm. You can still kind of powerhouse your way through 12 if you wanted, if you just grinded enough. But I do find myself more engaged with items and paying attention to, oh, I have an antidote. Let's level up a person who can use this antidote, and it would have more effect saves on it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
Because the licenses also makes it more interesting and engaging.
No, that's fair. Last one I've got is potions with unique effects. Normally I hate potions. I don't really like using them, but when it's a unique effect, for example, like a potion of water walking, or my favorite when I was playing Morrowind, the potion of flying. Like like special unique ones that you can have in certain situations that just let you get around something, or it's not just like an effect or a recharge of health or something like that. It's like a static, like this is a unique ability you're basically granting yourself for a short period of time.
Oh man, that'd be a super cool like what if they made a game that was like that? You didn't get health potions, you just got other potions that gave you a skill, but each potion had limit, like there's only a certain amount of each potions. So like say let's let's use Legend of Zelda as an example.
Okay.
And then say you had a green potion that let you climb over trees, and then you had a blue potion that lets you walk across rivers and stuff. But you would only ever get 8 of each throughout the entire game. However, there are 12 rivers and 12 locations you can climb over trees to get to certain locations and special items.
That'd be interesting. It'd be a very
kind of cool,
challenging game, potentially.
Yeah, but I think it would be really cool because then, like, if you did that, you can create certain story elements or even just, like, upgradable elements through that maybe change the way you play your game based off of what paths you chose.
So would these be required to progress through? Or would they just be kind of additions to potentially make it easier to progress through certain sections?
I would say additions to make it either more enhanced or to easier to progress through the game.
Cool. I like that. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Now, speaking of Zelda, that reminds me of something that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with.
Ooh.
In most games, I love it. In Breath of the Wild, I kind of hate it. And in the latest Smash Brothers, I really hate it. The bomb.
Really?
The bombs.
No way, the bomb's the best.
No, bombs are awesome. They're versatile. They're useful in literally every situation. You can use them, in Breath of the Wild specifically, you can use them infinitely, which I think cheapens them significantly. But overall, I love them.
Oh, okay.
They're one of my favorite consumable items at all. They're not consumable anymore in Breath of the Wild because you have an infinite supply, but they're awesome. However, in Smash Brothers Ultimate, that same bomb, the remote bomb is terrible in
That's
Smash.
The one where you walk over it.
You just don't know how to use it.
You're right. I don't know how to use it. I haven't had enough practice playing against real people.
It's super good. Watch pro players use it.
I don't watch pro players. They make me want to give up on the game.
See, pro players make me want to get better because then I'm like, oh, I need to be that guy.
Yeah, but you also played that kind of stuff competitively.
Yeah.
Actually, Smiley, if you can fact check that. Thank you.
Yeah, go for it, Smiley. Look at me up. Exeo90.
Is that what you went by?
Yeah, I've been Exeo90 my entire life.
Is it because you were born in 90?
No, I wasn't, actually. I was born in 91. Don't ask me why I have Exeo90. I don't remember. It's just always been my gamer tag.
Well, it's better than XXZeoXX.
Wow.
Yeah. Although I think I put the X in there because of, I think Zeo90 was taken or something like that. Or Zeo91, I think, was taken. No, wait, it's coming back to me. I think Zeo91 was taken.
Well, I'd say just go with Zeo Plays Games, but you've abandoned that.
I haven't decided.
No, he's abandoned it.
No, I still play games with you guys.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You've abandoned us. He's not a gamer anymore.
I'm still a gamer.
He's a pretend review blogger.
What? No.
Yeah, it's true.
No.
Oh.
His last video, he went up and down the street trying to find a cat. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He didn't talk at any point in it. We didn't even see a cat. I don't think the cat even existed. I think he was just off his meds.
What the hell are you talking about?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to figure out when I was watching the video. It was ridiculous.
This is way off topic. When I was younger, I had this nephew. I was like 15. He was like 4 or 5. For about 3 years, I made him believe that we had a cat in the house. He just never found it. Mm-hmm. So he spent like 3 years looking for a cat.
He didn't live there, though. He would just visit?
No, he lived there.
What?
I would just.
How old was he?
Yeah, it was like 5.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
no,
like for like
fair.
3 years, he was like, "Oh no, you just missed the cat. The cat went in that room." So like this would be the best way to entertain him because he'd be like, "I didn't find the cat." I'm like, no, it's over there now. So for years, I promise, he believed there was a cat in the house, and he tried to find it. He just never found
terrible.
It was funny.
Oh, that's. Ugh.
You know, I would say it'd be preparing him for his later years. Spend all his time chasing.
He's not. He's gonna have trust issues.
Chasing pussy that can't be found. Hey, can we include firearms, weaponry in this?
I think you could consider ammunition a consumable, but not the gun. Talking about guns, that's a whole nother podcast. Don't you worry.
Or way weapons. Over budget.
Over budget? Well, Zia, we don't even have a budget. Wait, does the podcast have a budget?
Yeah.
What's the budget for the podcast?
8 bitcoins.
That's not bad. Like
a minute.
Ooh, wait, is that? That's how much I make.
So,
yeah?
If I were to say the Rhino from Ratchet and Clank, that would not be in the scope of this.
I don't know that you don't consume it. It's not like a
no.
You consume the ammunition at an amazing rate. It is a fantastic weapon, though, but I won't talk about it because it doesn't fit here.
About that one.
No, in the first game, it was a fantastic weapon. Everyone after that is kind of debatable.
But pretty much at this point, that brings us to the end of our podcast. Unfortunately, excuse me, that's all the time we have.
How did you feel about consuming this podcast?
Oh, it felt good. I forgot to do this at the beginning of the podcast.
Would you say that this was a great consumable, or is it one that you should save for later?
You should probably use it now and again later. But I forgot to do this at the beginning of the podcast, where if you enjoyed the backgrounds that you've seen in the podcast before, if you're watching it on YouTube, and you think you've got some sweet screenshots that you would love for us to put up there as well, let us know. Send it to us. You can tweet them at us. That would be the best way to do it. If you also can't do that because you don't have a Twitter and you don't want to make one, you can jump on our Discord. You can check us out there. Send one of us a message for it too. You'll find the description or the link to the Discord down below. But yeah, send us your screenshot. We'd love to do a shout out to you as well for it. We're always looking for some sweet views. Doesn't have to be No Man's Sky. We've just been doing that because we have next to nothing on our web series that we do. But yeah, send us a message, send us your awesome screenshots, and we'd love to hear from you.
Wow, way to be promotional, Spen.
I forgot to do that at the beginning.
Spen, you're too professional for our own good.
So for the 3 of you that make it this far, the special word is pineapple, and if you comment down below, Toll will give you $5.
Yes.
Oh shit, he's here. He can dispute it now.
No, I'll give him $5, but they'll have to pay me $10 for the shipping.
No,
okay.
For the transfer fees.
He'll just give you $5.
But if you complain enough to our complaint department, we'll waive that fee.
Which is
Toll's email.
Which is at www.youtube.com/Tollus. Just complain to him there.
Yeah.
All of them. Send all your complaints that direction.
And everyone else's complaints, you know.
Yeah. And thanks. That's the end. We don't really have a proper ending. I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, we've never.
I usually just like to pick a spot where I just listen to it and I'm just like, this is a good stopping point. Where it's
is it here? Is this the spot?